Hello, I'm Mark Price. I'd like to talk to you today about Holy Thursday and being called to serve. The great Christian writer G.K. Chesterton was once asked if he were shipwrecked on a desert island and could have only one book, what book would he want? Everyone expected he'd probably say the Bible or some other book by great Christian authors. But he surprised them when he said, if I were shipwrecked on a desert island and could have only one book, I'd want it to be a book on shipbuilding. Because you see, my faith does me no good just sitting on an island by myself. I'm called to be with and serve other people. That was his answer, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. The reading for today is from the Gospel of John, chapter 13, verses 1 through 15. Before the feast of Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to pass from this world to the Father. He loved his own in the world, and he loved them to the end. The devil had already induced Judas, son of Simon the Iscariot, to hand him over. So during supper, fully aware that the Father had put everything into his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God, he rose from supper and took off his outer garments. He took a towel and tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and dry them with the towel around his waist. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Master, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered and said to him, "What I am doing you do not understand now, but you will understand later." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered him, "Unless I wash you, you will have no inheritance with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Master, then not only my feet, but my hands and head as well." Jesus said to him, "Whoever has bathed has no need except to have his feet washed, for he is clean all over. So you are clean, but not all." For he knew who would betray him. For this reason he said, Not all of you are clean. So when he had washed their feet and put his garments back on, he reclined at table again. He said to them, "Do you realize what I have done for you? You call me teacher and master, and rightly so, for indeed I am. If I therefore, the master and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. I have given you a model to follow, so that as I have done for you, you should also do." The Gospel of the Lord. So what's happened in this Gospel? Jesus knows that his day to leave this earth and go back to his Father in heaven is coming up very quickly. He knows he's going to be betrayed by one of his 12, and he knows who it is. And while he's there with them having this last meal with them, we call the Last Supper, he does what he has done throughout his entire 3 years of ministry. He teaches. He doesn't stop teaching. He doesn't stop trying to show us by example and word what we are called to do if we choose to follow him. So he fills a basin with water and he begins to wash their feet. But when he comes to Simon Peter, he says, "Simon, I'm going to wash your feet." What does Simon do? And by the way, this is why I love Simon Peter. It's a stroke of genius, Jesus calling Simon, because he is so normal. He is so average. He's like all of us. He reacts before he thinks. Jesus says, "I'm going to wash your feet." And what does Peter say? "No, you're not. No, you're not. I'm not going to let you wash my feet. I'm not going to let you wash my feet." Now, Peter is saying that he's not going to do it because he's not worthy. But that really maybe isn't the truth. In reality, washing of feet at the time of Jesus was something reserved for the lowest of the low. Even a slave, if ordered by his master to wash his master's feet, under their law, that slave could not be punished if he refused. Washing feet is reserved for even lower than a slave. And Peter knew that if he allowed Jesus to wash his feet, that he would be called to wash others. And see, it was his pride that made him say no. But then what does Jesus say in response? He says, well, if you don't let me wash your feet, then you're not worthy to follow me. And what does Peter do? Throws off all of his clothes and runs to Jesus and says, wash all of me then. And Jesus says, put your clothes back on. I'll wash your feet. You continue to take care of the rest of you. Well, what's the message in this? The message is that Jesus, even at the time he knows he's close to going back to his Father, he's still trying to tell us what we are called to do as followers of him, as followers of Jesus. And that is to serve others. So, and why should we serve? What is the reason we should serve? First of all, we should serve because it honors God. It honors God because it says, I've been listening to you, Jesus. I've heard your teachings. I've heard your calls to us to serve others, to be there for the poor, and to be there for the people around us. I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to do what I have heard you say. It honors God because we are showing that we listened and we're following through on what we've been asked to do by God. The second, it makes us healthy. It makes us healthy. Everything that God asks us to do in Scripture, everything God tells us to do, is for our own good. It makes us healthy. For example, we're commanded to forgive others. Forgive those around you. Do you think God tells us to forgive because he needs us to forgive? No, he knows we need to forgive. Because when we don't, when we harbor that resentment, that anger toward other people, it begins to build up and becomes a cancer in us. So he's saying to forgive because it's healthy. We're called to serve because it's healthy. The third reason is because it accentuates the holy. What does holy mean? Holy means set apart. We have altars in our churches today. They're set apart for one purpose. They're made holy and set apart because they give praise, glory, and honor to God. This is what we do at the altar. At the time of Jesus, there was a room at the great temple called the Holy of Holies. It's where they kept the Ark of the Covenant, which kept the Ten Commandments. Once a year, and only once a year, did someone enter that room. It was set apart. It was made holy to honor God. And the fourth reason that we should be open to service is it provides hope. It provides hope not just for us, but for the people around us, the people that we are helping. It's hope that somebody is there for them. So we are called to serve in this world. And that's the message in the gospel today. As followers of Jesus, as followers of Christ, as people of faith, we're called to be of service to others. We've come to serve and not to be served. And we must remember that. Edmund Burke, the great writer from England, said, all that's required for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. So let's do something. Let's listen to the gospel. Let's serve one another. Let's be open to service. And if we're caught up in our own little desert island, and either self-imposed desert island in our own mind, or one that we're put into because of a government putting us under force stay at home, maybe we should do something. Perhaps read a book on shipbuilding. This is Mark Price. Thanks for listening.